I thought I had found my forever when I married Sophia 8 years ago. Our Portland home was perfect. Our careers were taking off and I was ready to start a family. Everything seemed ideal, until that Tuesday when I returned early from my business trip to Denver. The house felt different somehow. Quieter, emptier, like it was holding its breath. When I found her laptop open on the kitchen counter, I had no idea those unread messages would shatter everything I believed about our marriage. Before I tell you how my entire world collapsed around me, drop a comment letting me know where you are watching from, and hit that subscribe button if you have ever had your trust completely shattered. Trust me, what happens next shocked everyone in our lives. I met Sophia at my college buddy Mark's housewarming party in downtown Portland. I had just moved from Seattle for a software engineering position, with better growth opportunities. Standing near the kitchen island, nursing a craft beer, I noticed her immediately. Sophia was different from anyone I had dated before. Her laugh carried across the room, genuine and warm. When Mark introduced us, we discovered a shared love for hiking the Pacific Northwest trails and obscure indie films. Our first date was at a local coffee shop that transformed into a wine bar at night. Hours flew by, as we discussed everything from childhood memories to future aspirations. By our third date hiking Mount Hood, I knew this was different. The proposal happened on our 2-year anniversary at Cannon Beach during sunset. When she said yes, strangers around us applauded. The wedding was intimate, just 60 close friends and family at a vineyard outside Portland. Every detail felt perfect. We bought our craftsman-style home in a quiet neighborhood 3 years into our marriage. 3 bedrooms, hoping to fill them with children soon. Sophia excelled in her marketing career, while I advanced to senior engineer. We renovated the kitchen together, planted a garden in the backyard, and hosted legendary dinner parties. From the outside, we were that couple everyone envied. I trusted Sophia completely. Never checked her phone, never questioned her whereabouts. Marriage counselors would have called us a success story. Looking back, the warning signs were there, but love had blinded me to them all. About a year ago, subtle shifts began. Sophia started attending more girls' nights and work events. She changed her hair, updated her wardrobe, and spent more time at the gym. All things that could easily be explained away, and I did exactly that. Her phone gained a new password. Just being security conscious, she claimed after a company seminar on digital privacy. Our intimacy declined gradually, but she blamed work stress and project deadlines. I believed her because why wouldn't I? This was Sophia, my wife, my partner, the woman I planned to grow old with. The business trip to Denver should have lasted 5 days, but the client unexpectedly canceled our final 2 meetings. Rather than extending my hotel stay, I decided to surprise Sophia by coming home early. I imagined her face lighting up, perhaps suggesting we use the unexpected time off for a spontaneous weekend getaway. When I unlocked our front door that Tuesday afternoon, the house was silent. Sophia's car was in the driveway, but she wasn't home. According to her shared calendar, she should have been working from home that day. I called out her name, but only silence answered back. Something felt off. The air was heavy with expensive perfume she rarely wore around the house. I wandered into the kitchen for a glass of water and spotted her laptop open on the counter. The screen displayed several unread message notifications. I had never been the snooping type. Trust was our foundation. But something primitive and instinctual pulled me toward that screen. I stood frozen in our kitchen, staring at that glowing laptop screen. The internal debate lasted seconds but felt like hours. Was checking her messages, betraying her privacy, or was ignoring my gut feeling? Betraying myself. The notification preview showed a message from James W. that began. Last night was amazing. I cannot wait until we can. James, her coworker, the one she mentioned casually in conversation, the one whose name appeared increasingly in her stories over the past months. I clicked. What I found destroyed me. 6 months of messages detailing their affair, explicit conversations, plans for hotel rendezvous, sweet nothings that once belonged only to our relationship. My stomach lurched as I scrolled through their history, each message another nail in the coffin of our marriage. Travis is working late again. One message from Sophia read, "Come over. I will cook your favorite." Our home, Our bed. While I worked overtime to save for our future, I checked her email, next finding hotel receipts carefully labeled as Professional Development Workshop in her folders. The photo gallery contained intimate pictures, never meant for my eyes. Her calendar revealed work meetings that perfectly aligned with James's schedule. My hands shook uncontrollably. Sweat beaded on my forehead despite the cool air conditioning. The physical symptoms of betrayal felt like a heart attack chest, tightening breathing, shallow vision, blurring around the edges. But the worst was still coming. I discovered messages to her friends about me. Travis is so clueless, she had written to her best friend Amelia. He actually believes I am working when I am with James. Another to her sister, James understands me in ways Travis never could. I feel alive again. The mockery cut deeper than the infidelity. Not only was she cheating, but she was laughing about it with others. And they knew. Our mutual friends knew, and said nothing while shaking my hand at dinner parties, asking about work, smiling to my face. I found a draft email addressed to her parents explaining her dissatisfaction in our marriage. How she had outgrown me. How James represented the excitement and passion missing from her life with me. She described me as comfortable and safe words that now felt like insults rather than virtues. The most devastating discovery was a conversation with James about finances post-separation. They had discussed how to handle the division of assets, whether our house should be sold or if she could afford to buy me out. They debated the best timing after her upcoming promotion or before tax season. My wife had been planning her exit strategy while sleeping beside me every night. I collapsed onto our kitchen floor back against the refrigerator where family photos and vacation magnets mocked me with false memories. For 2 hours, I sat there cycling through shock, denial, rage, and heartbreak. My entire reality had been a fiction. As the initial shock subsided, something crystallized within me. I had 2 options: confrontation or self-preservation. I could wait for her return, scream, cry, demand. Explanations for betrayals, already clearly documented. I could beg her to reconsider, promise to change whatever had driven her away. Or I could choose myself for once. The traditional script would have me confronting her, perhaps throwing her belongings onto the lawn in a dramatic scene worthy of reality television. But that script served her narrative, not mine. It would give her the chance to twist my words, manipulate my emotions, and paint herself as the victim of my reaction, rather than the architect of this destruction. For the first time in our marriage, I chose my well-being over her comfort. I decided to ghost her completely. The decision to disappear rather than confront wasn't made lightly. Hollywood would have had me waiting dramatically in a darkened living room, perhaps drinking whiskey as she entered. But real life isn't a movie, and my mental health couldn't withstand the gaslighting that would inevitably follow. I moved with methodical precision. While Sophia was still out with James, I presumed I packed essential clothes, personal documents, and irreplaceable sentimental items, photos of my late grandmother, the watch my father gave me for graduation, and a few books that had shaped my life. Everything else was replaceable. At the bank, I withdrew exactly half our joint savings, fair, legal, and advised by countless divorce resources I had frantically Googled. I found an Airbnb across town, paid for 2 weeks up front, and contacted a divorce attorney from the backseat of my Uber, all before Sophia knew anything was wrong. The digital cutoff was absolute. I blocked her number, removed myself from all social media, and changed all my passwords. I emailed my boss, requesting 3 personal days citing a family emergency. The only person who knew my location was my attorney, whom I met the following morning. That first night alone was excruciating. The queen bed in my sterile temporary housing felt enormous without her presence. I alternated between sobbing uncontrollably and staring numbly at the ceiling. Sleep came in 30-minute increments, each awakening bringing fresh realizations of my new reality. Through the building's security cameras, I watched Sophia return home around 7 that evening, lipstick slightly smudged, carrying takeout for 1. My phone, though, silenced, lit up with her calls. The voicemails began casual. "Hey babe, thought you were coming back Thursday. Call me." They escalated quickly. "Travis, where are you? Your clothes are missing. What's going on by midnight? This isn't funny anymore. I'm worried sick. Please call me back. The security app on my phone showed her pacing our living room, frantically opening closets, checking spaces as if I might be hiding somewhere in the house. She called friends, family, even hospitals, everyone except James. By morning, the bombardment began. Mutual friends texted asking if I was okay, saying Sophia was beside herself. My parents called repeatedly, after Sophia contacted them with concerns about my mental health. Coworkers received desperate emails asking about my whereabouts. What shocked me was how quickly she spun the narrative. Within 24 hours, her social media transformed into a public plea for her missing husband. Please help me find Travis, she posted alongside our wedding photo. He left suddenly without explanation, and I'm worried about his state of mind. The comments flooded in. Praying for you both. Hope he's okay. Here, if you need anything. People who had known about her affair now publicly supported her victim narrative. 3 days in, she showed up at my workplace, tears streaming down her face as she begged my colleagues for information. My boss, uncomfortable with the situation, called to check if I was safe. I confirmed I was fine, but dealing with a personal matter that required privacy. His skepticism was evident, but he respected my boundary. Sophia's public meltdown intensified when she discovered the bank withdrawal. New posts appeared accusing me of financial abandonment. She claimed I had emptied our accounts, a lie, and left her unable to pay bills, another lie, as her substantial salary more than covered our expenses. The calls from friends turned accusatory. How could you do this to her? Whatever problems you had, this is cruel. Man up and talk to her. Even my oldest friends assumed I was the villain in this story. My parents drove to Portland from Seattle, genuinely concerned after Sophia's tearful call suggesting I might be suicidal. When I finally answered their call from a blocked number explaining the situation with evidence, their relief was palpable. They became my sole allies, maintaining the secret of my whereabouts, while assuring others I was safe. Meanwhile, social media showed the next phase of Sophia's performance, the brave, abandoned wife. Friends brought her meals. Her sister flew in for emotional support. Amelia, the same friend who knew about the affair, organized a search party that conveniently canvassed everywhere except places I might actually be. 10 days into my disappearance, I watched through social media as Sophia and James's relationship went public, disguised as leaning on a friend during crisis. Photos showed them getting coffee, him comforting her with an arm around her shoulder. The timeline suggested to outsiders that this was new, a product of her vulnerability, rather than the months-long affair it truly was. The climax came when Sophia somehow tracked down my Airbnb address. To this day, I suspect a well-meaning mutual friend. She appeared at my door, mascara streaked, and clutching her phone with loaded text messages ready to show me. I opened the door, but blocked the entrance. Her practiced speech faltered when she saw my face, calm, resolved, and unmoved by her tears. "How could you just leave?" she demanded, voice breaking perfectly on cue. "The same way you left our marriage 6 months ago," I replied, except I had the decency to take only what was mine. Her face transformed from victim to fury in an instant. "You had no right to go through my private messages, and you had no right to invite another man into our bed." The confirmation that I knew everything triggered a genuine breakdown. This wasn't the performance she had been giving others. This was raw, ugly, crying, as she realized her carefully constructed narrative had collapsed. James, sitting in his car across the street, as moral support drove away when the conversation turned heated. His courage apparently extended only to sleeping with another man's wife, not facing the consequences. After 2 weeks of silence, I finally responded not to Sophia's increasingly desperate messages, but through my attorney. A formal notice of divorce proceedings arrived at our home, citing irreconcilable differences and adultery. The evidence was attached in a sealed envelope marked confidential. The strategy was simple: communicate only through legal channels, reveal evidence strategically, and maintain personal dignity throughout. My attorney Denise, a divorce veteran who had seen every possible dirty tactic, became my voice when emotions might have compromised my position. I crafted a single social media post, my only public statement. I am safe and well. I have initiated divorce proceedings and ask for privacy during this difficult time. I will not be discussing personal matters publicly out of respect for all involved. No accusations, no mudslinging, just facts. The response was immediate. Friends who had condemned my disappearance grew suspiciously quiet. Sophia's social media shifted from concerned wife to wronged victim without explaining what wrong had occurred. Several mutual friends reached out privately, asking questions that suggested they were beginning to doubt her version of events. I authorized Denise to share specific evidence with 3 key friends in our social circle, those whose opinions carried weight. Within days, the tide of public opinion shifted dramatically. People who had brought Sophia casseroles now avoided eye contact with her at local spots. Her sister, after seeing the messages mocking me, returned to Chicago earlier than planned. Sophia attempted damage control through increasingly desperate measures. First came the apology texts. I made a terrible mistake. Can we please talk? Then manipulation, I might lose my job over this stress. Is that what you want? Finally, threats. If you turn our friends against me, I will make sure you regret it. I responded to none of it personally. Every message was forwarded to Denise, documented, and added to our case file. When mutual friends asked for my side, I simply stated that the evidence spoke for itself, and I wasn't interested in campaigning for public support. This approach infuriated Sophia more than any confrontation could have. Her inability to engage me directly to manipulate my emotions or justify her actions left her flailing against a void. For perhaps the first time in our relationship, I was not available to absorb her emotional needs. The most challenging moments came when well-meaning people suggested reconciliation. Marriages survive affairs all the time, they would say, as if statistics should override my personal boundaries. Or worse, you must have contributed to the problems in your marriage too. The subtle victim-blaming masquerading as wisdom. I maintained boundaries with these toxic suggestions, neither defending nor explaining my choices. I appreciate your concern became my mantra, followed by a topic change or exit from the conversation. The divorce proceedings revealed Sophia's final attempt at manipulation. She claimed entitlement to 70% of our assets, citing career sacrifices she had allegedly made for my benefit. Sacrifices that existed nowhere except her imagination, as her salary had outpaced mine for the past 2 years. The financial negotiation turned ugly until Denise presented evidence from Sophia's own messages to James, discussing how to maximize her claims, despite being the higher earner. The judge was not impressed. 4 months after discovering the affair, I sat across from Sophia and her attorney for our final settlement discussion. Gone was the confident woman who had mocked me behind my back. In her place sat someone I barely recognized, bitter, defensive, and visibly aging from stress. When cornered with evidence contradicting her latest claims, she finally admitted the full extent of her betrayal, more from exhaustion than remorse. The divorce finalized 6 months after my disappearance with equitable asset division and no ongoing financial entanglements. Our house sold quickly in Portland's hot market. I used my portion for a down payment on a modern apartment closer to downtown, smaller but filled with only my choices, my taste, my life. Social fallout lingered. Some friends chose sides permanently. Others attempted neutrality, inviting us both to events with careful scheduling to ensure we never overlapped. I declined most invitations during the first year, focusing instead on rebuilding. My rebuilding process was intentional. I took the promotion I had delayed while focusing on our marriage. I reconnected with old college friends who had drifted during my relationship. Weekly therapy sessions helped process the betrayal and examine patterns I never wanted to repeat. I rediscovered passions Sophia had subtly discouraged: playing guitar, weekend photography hikes, coaching youth basketball. My apartment filled with new memories, concert tickets, pinned to a corkboard photographs of solo adventures books, once deemed taking up too much space. Dating again happened gradually. The first few attempts were disasters. I projected suspicion onto innocent behaviors, questioned normal phone usage, interpreted standard work commitments as potential deception. But with time and continued therapy, I learned to distinguish between reasonable caution and paranoid hypervigilance. About 8 months post-divorce, several friends who had initially blamed me approached with apologies. They admitted knowing fragments of Sophia's infidelity, but convincing themselves it wasn't their business. Their guilt had fueled their initial anger toward me, a psychological defense against their own complicity. 13 months after leaving our home, I encountered Sophia at a mutual friend's wedding. She had brought James as her date, a relationship that had apparently survived the scandal. In the bathroom line, she approached me slightly intoxicated and visibly nervous. "I didn't think you would come if you knew I was invited," she began. "Your presence doesn't dictate my choices anymore," I replied simply. "I know what I did was unforgivable," she continued, voice lowered. "But the way you left without a word. That was cruel, Travis." I considered her words carefully before responding. "I gave you the same courtesy you gave our marriage. No warning, no explanation, just absence. The difference is that I only disappeared once the relationship was already dead." She flinched at the calm delivery of this truth. "Are you happy now?" she asked, something like regret, finally showing through her practiced composure. "I am at peace," I answered honestly, "which is worth more than the happiness I thought we had." She nodded slowly, eyes filling with tears that for once seemed genuine. "I miss who we were," she whispered. "That person you miss never existed," I said gently. "But I wish you well with who you really are." I walked away first, something I should have done years earlier, at the first sign of disrespect. That brief exchange provided closure no legal document could offer. Not because she had changed or truly understood the damage she had caused, but because I had changed enough to recognize that her opinion of my choices no longer mattered. The greatest lesson from this painful chapter wasn't about Sophia's betrayal, but about my response to it. By choosing myself, my dignity, my mental health, my future, I discovered strength I never knew I possessed. Walking away from toxicity isn't weakness. It's the ultimate form of self-respect. Forgiveness, when it finally came, wasn't about absolving Sophia, but freeing myself from the weight of bitterness. I released the anger, not because she deserved forgiveness, but because I deserved peace. 1 year after my world imploded, I stood on the balcony of my downtown apartment watching the sunset paint the Portland skyline in shades of orange and pink. The man who discovered those messages in his kitchen no longer existed. In his place stood someone stronger, wiser, and unafraid of being alone. The healing journey had not been linear. Some days brought unexpected emotional ambushes. A song on the radio, a restaurant we had frequented the scent of her preferred coffee, but these triggers gradually lost their power, becoming mere echoes rather than fresh wounds. I learned to trust again selectively and with clear eyes. Not everyone deserves complete access to your life, your heart, or your vulnerabilities. This lesson wasn't about becoming permanently guarded, but about establishing healthy boundaries and recognizing when those boundaries are respected. My capacity for joy expanded once I stopped investing energy in someone determined to betray me. New relationships, both friendship and romantic, flourished in the space created by Sophia's absence. Authentic connections replaced the illusion of intimacy I had clung to for years. The most profound realization was that ghosting Sophia had never been about punishing her despite what others believed. It was about protecting myself during a period of intense vulnerability. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do for yourself is to exit quietly from relationships that no longer serve your well-being. Freedom arrived, not when the divorce finalized, but the moment I recognized that others' opinions about my choices were none of my business. Those who judged my disappearance without understanding my reasons revealed more about their own character than mine. Life continues to unfold in unexpected ways. The future remains unwritten, full of possibilities I couldn't envision, while trapped in a relationship built on deception. Pain, when moved through rather than avoided, transforms into wisdom that guides better choices. Have you ever had to walk away from someone you love to save yourself? Drop a comment below, sharing how you found the courage to choose your own well-being when it mattered most. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more real-life experiences. Share this video with someone who might need to hear that sometimes the strongest thing you can do is walk away. Thank you for listening to my story. And remember, your peace is always worth protecting.